for today, Mr. Priya Ranjan Kumar, the Chief Operating Officer of Iconic Fashion India, an engineer by education and a sales Priya Ranjan has consciously tried to build a diverse profile throughout his professional experience of over 15 years. While he started off selling aluminum roofing sheets, his illustrious career has spanned across categories including OTC medicines, alcoholic beverages, and apparel. I would just like to take a moment to share the structure for today's session. At the end of Mr. Kumar's talk, we'll open the floor for questions. Please feel free to send in your questions to me or Sudhi privately on chat. And I would now like to invite Mr. Priya Ranjan Kumar to take the stage and share his valuable insights. Thank you.
I didn't catch the last part of what you said, so I think there was connection which somehow got distorted. You're on mute.
Yeah. So I would just like to take a moment and share the structure of today's session. At the end of Mr. Kumar's talk, we'll open the floor for questions. And please feel free to send in your questions to me or Sudhi privately on chat. And I would now like to invite Mr. Priya Ranjan to take the stage and share his valuable insights. Thank you.
Thank you for having me over. It's a pleasure to connect with all of you uh, today, and I look forward to this session. I handle a business which is very simplistic in nature. Retail is, I would say, it's the most important bridge between the product and the consumer, and everybody somehow or the other is connected to this business. You could be, I'm sure all of us are consumers, so we are connected to retail. At some point in time, you would be associated with some product in the capacity of a product manager or a brand head or in productions or doing a startup on your own. So I think you will be connected to this business surely at some point in time in your professional life and in personal life. A bit about me so that you get an understanding of where I come from. It's been now about close to 16 years in the business. I've worked with a lot of brands in my career. I've worked across the country. Started off my career in West, then moved to North, then moved to South, then moved to East. Now again, I'm back to North. I have handled B2B brands, which is Aditya Birla, Hindalco Industries, selling a product called aluminum roofing sheets. I've been in the OTC business. I've been in the Elco Bev business. Very different in nature of how they are distributed, how they are sold, how they are marketed. One has got restrictive distribution, restrictive marketing, which is Elco Bev. Then you have OTC, which is a wholesale distribution. Then I moved to confectionery, personal confectionery, that's chocolates. Now chocolates was a very different stint because it's not like Cadbury's. This product is heat sensitive, so it requires a cold infrastructure, chill infrastructure for transportation and storage. Therefore, in India, it's quite challenging to have this kind of an environment for your business. So again, a very different experience that I had with Mars and Snickers. Then I moved to South, handling the personal care business for Nivea. And my last 5 years has been with in apparel retail. First with Pantaloons, where I was heading the business for Pantaloons for East, based out of Calcutta. Then I moved to Mumbai in the head office, managing the retail operations for the country and part of the leadership team of Pantaloons. Now I'm part of a startup called Iconic Fashion. So in my career, my span has been that I've worked in startups, I've worked in mid-stage companies, I've worked in large corporates, MNCs, conglomerates, Indian companies. So I've seen a bit of everything in this last 16 years, especially working across the country. So that's a bit about me, and I'm open to questions, anything related to an industry, FMCG, retail, your career choices, what's happening in the industry, specifically in the current situation. I'll be open to all of these questions. So my presentation is very light. I make very light presentation. They're not text heavy. It'll be all pictures. So I hope you get a flavor of what I'm trying to speak on. This is the overall category of retail in India. There's no rocket science. You would Google it and find it. Estimated to be a 40 lakh crore market, out of which 60% is a food and grocery. And there you see the maximum action happening these days. You saw the Reliance and the Future Group deal, and a lot of action happening at Walmart and Flipkart level also, because that is the pie. That is where the real meat is in the next 5 to 10 years, and especially with how the industry has coped up during the times of COVID, where physical retail has taken a lot of beating. So this is where the real game is, and that's why you see a lot of action happening in this industry. Just to give a perspective on a certain numbers of how this industry is, retail industry is structured. In India specifically, you have about 85% of the business which comes from mom and pop stores. You have 10% of the business which used to come from shopping malls, and 5% was your e-commerce or online. You have 40, close to 14 million retail stores, mom and pop stores, but only about 3 to 4% of them are more than 500 square feet. So these, out of these 14 million, 96% are quite small stores that you see across marketplaces across the length and breadth of the country. There are close to 700 shopping malls operating in India. However, only about 100 of them are successful. Rest are quite weak in their performance matrices. And 5% is e-commerce, and it is growing by the hour, by the day, because of, I feel, a definite change in how the consumer behavior is changing. So that's how the retail landscape is. So I give you perspective on 40 lakh crore, out of which 60% is food and grocery. And out of this, how the market is structured into three parts, which is mom and pop, organized trade, which is modern trade, shopping malls, and then you have e-commerce. A bit of an understanding on how retail works. Retail has got, you would have heard about marketing principles and 4 P's in marketing. Now, this is what I say is 5 P's in retail is place. Obviously, location is very important in retail. Then you have the product. What product are you associated with? It could be electronics. It could be it could be any consumer durable product. It could be fashion, lifestyle. So product, what you are selling and what you stand for as an organization. And people, because it's a manpower intensive industry, you're serving a lot of people, and therefore to serve a lot of people, you need a lot of people to serve them. So therefore, people become very, very important in the industry. And if you have a lot of people who are associated with the industry, you need a lot of processes in place. You need standard operating procedures, because then you don't want everybody to put in too much of their ways of working, and there has to be a standard way of operating. And finally, what is the proposition that you have? Whether it could, for example, a retail chain called DMart, it has a proposition that it is the cheapest. You will find the cheapest product in DMart. So it's a proposition that somebody has. Talking about food and grocery again, there's a retail chain called More Supermarket, Hypermarket. It was associated with Aditya Birla Group. Now it's moved on. So their proposition is quality and freshness. So everybody will have some kind of a proposition what they stand for. So therefore, it's very important in retail to have that kind of proposition. Possibly in every business, you need to have some kind of proposition. Once all of these 5 things come together, that's where you become profitable. And it's very difficult to make a physical retail business profitable. It's quite difficult. And even in the best run companies, what I'll tell you in my next slide is how retail operates and what is the P&L of a retail. It's a very simplistically put representation of what happens in retail. If you've got 100 rupee revenue and 50 rupees goes in your cost of sales, and your 50 rupees is your gross margin, then you have the two biggest components, which is your rent and salary, which is very, very high in retail, because you have got physical place and you've got people who are managing this business. So about 50% of your cost go in rent and salary. Then you have electricity expenses, then you have housekeeping and security, then you have marketing expenses, then you have theft and shrinkage, you have logistics, you have miscellaneous. And at the end of the day, you think that at an operating level, if you sold a product for 100 rupees, what you end up making is about only 10 rupees. And this I'm talking about fashion retail, where the margins are about 50%. Now, if you take it in grocery, you understand the margins there are operating at 20%, and therefore everything has to come down substantially, and even the EBITDA comes down substantially. So this is not a business where you sell something at 100, you sell a revenue about 100, and your EBITDA could be in the tune of 25, 30%. It doesn't operate this way. And therefore, the structure of the business is such that it's a very, very fixed cost model. It's a very heavy fixed cost model. Therefore, to make a brick and mortar retail successful, it is quite a tough business. Not many people in India have been able to do this. Not many people in India have been able to do this consistently and over a long period of time. Everybody has had their spells. You are DMart having a great golden run for about 4 or 5 years, broken down, now by COVID, because they had to reinvent their business model. They were into physical retail, they were never into digital. Now they had to shift their model. You had very successful, very good brand, very strong brand, Big Bazaar, running for the last 17-20 years. They are not able to sustain, and there are many stories of such physical brick and mortar retail which have not been able to sustain the business and have gone down, just simply because the structure is such that because you're physically present and you're paying a lot of money as rent and salaries and all the other allied expenses. Therefore, either you make a gross margin of 50 to 60% on a product, which is very difficult if you're selling branded products, and if you're doing a trading business of taking products from organizations and selling to consumers. That is what retail is all about. Or you make 100% private label story. So therefore, both these things are quite difficult to achieve. Not many people have been able to do it internationally. If I talk about fashion retail, Zara does it beautifully, because they have got 100% private labels. Then in Zara you don't find anything. H&M, you don't find anything else apart from H&M and Zara. So therefore, the cost of goods, it comes down, and you make a 60-65% gross margin, and therefore you end up making a 20% EBITDA. So that's how the story is, and therefore grocery retail is therefore very tough to operate. Internationally, you would have read stories of how Debenhams going down, Sears going down. Lot of international chains which had been in existence for more than 50-70 years, have started to go down. Therefore, again, it reinforces the theory that brick and mortar retail, physical retail, very difficult to make it profitable. So this is how the story is, and as you can see from this, 50% of the cost, if 50 is my gross margin and I make about 10% EBITDA, or 10 rupees is EBITDA, 40 rupees is my cost. If 40 rupees is my cost, 23 rupees is going in rent and salary. So this is the essence of what struck us during COVID, that these are fixed expenses. Now rent is a fixed expense and salary is a fixed expense, rest is all variable expenses. So more than 50% of the total expenses are fixed. So what happened when, obviously, COVID struck, and India was under lockdown for about 50-60 days. We had zero sales, and losses started to mount, because that 23 rupees that I spoke about remained 23. You had to pay rent and you had to pay salaries, while rest of the expenses went to zero because you are not operating. But 23 rupees at zero revenue is where it started to really hurt, because that's where we were making about 10 rupees, and if 23 rupees you start losing on a month-to-month basis at a store level, it becomes very difficult to operate. So month of April, it was for all retailers, it was a month of confusion, disorientation, bewilderment, perplexity as to what you do next. Everybody is under debt. So this is not a debt-free business, because you have loans, and very few companies, if you look at their balance sheets, it's going to be debt-free. I can't think of anybody who's debt-free in retail business. So therefore, you had mounting debt, you had interest payments, and you had zero revenues, plus you had high fixed costs. So this was all about April, when the situation really struck us, that what do we do? How do we come out of this mess which has been created? Slowly, at about first week of April is where people started to get the bearing of, yes, if it has come, you need to wriggle out of this difficult time and difficult situation. Therefore, there was a 3-stage plan, and this specifically I'm talking about the organization which I run. But about 70 to 80% of the things were common in how all retailers executed it on ground, or how they planned it for the financial year. So it was a 3-stage plan for us. It was about survive, revive, and thrive. So year one, this year till March 2021, it was about how do we survive. For the next 6 months, March 21 to December 21, it's going to be how do we revive ourselves. And then finally, when we think that about January 2022, when things will become normal, once the vaccine comes in and it is administered to everybody, by that time it would have been administered to nearly everybody who matter as consumers. That's the time when the growth will start to happen, and we'll see a so-called V-shaped recovery of the business. So that's where the time of thrive is going to come. So there's a 3-stage plan that we devised for ourselves of survive, revive, and thrive. So in the month of May, when we sat down to do this, as to how we are going to do it, first was acceptance of the problem that the cash flows are going to be a real challenge in this year. So for the next 10-12 months, cash flows are going to be under severe stress, because even if we understood that even if we open up, this response is going to be very lukewarm. especially fashion industry. Fashion is consumed most at 4 or 5 places. First is if you're going out to work every day, and if you the 5-day work week, you need 5 different pairs of clothes. And obviously, at the end of the day, when you're socializing or when you're going out with friends, partying, you need a different set of clothes. If you're traveling, and everybody travels a lot, so there you need a different kind of travel wear. Then you have birthday parties, occasions, occasional weddings, etc. So all that went out of the picture. So therefore, this was an acceptance that we had to see to it that cash flows are going to be under severe stress, and whole economic lockdown and physical lockdown meant that the shopping, whatever would the consumers would look for, is going to be shifted to online, because obviously they'll not start to come in hordes once we open up. So one was very clear that okay, a lot of consumers are going to shift to online shopping. There's going to be a partnership that we had to do with our retail partners, which is our mall developers and our retail store owners, uh, also with the vendor partners, and third with employees. So the partnership had to play a very important role in our survival, revival, and thrive theory. Third was that how do we cut our losses? In retail, you always see that you have good performing stores, you have average performing stores, and you have poor performing stores. And poor performing stores in the good times are not making money. So obviously, in the bad times, they're going to lose a lot of money. So the thought was that okay, let's cut our losses now. And finally, once we reopen, what will be our plan? How will we ensure that customers come back, see it as a safe place to come and shop, and how will we drive sales, and how will we come back to near normal in terms of our business, which was last year. So these are the four buckets that we started to think about and plan as to what each of them would entail. First was online shopping. So online shopping has got two clear cut divisions. One is your marketplaces, and one is your own website where you trade from. The own website is like a digital store of yours. Marketplaces is where we are just putting your inventory, but then you got a huge margin to pay for the services that you take from them as part of the retailing initiative which they are doing on your behalf. So what it meant was that it meant a very robust inventory management system. So we didn't have a very robust inventory management system because we were physical retail. We did not have any digital presence. The first thing was get your inventory management system in place. Secondly, get all the product photo shoots done. I mean, it's a huge challenge. Physically, if the product is available, you don't need a photo shoot of that. Now, getting a product photo shoot done of about 10,000 styles or 10,000 options is a task. So it's a task in about 30-35 days. We are able to do that. Not 10,000, but we are able to shoot about 4,000 articles at professional run studios, so that we are able to put this up at marketplaces and also our website. Then also you need a lot of partnerships in terms of APIs with as an interface with marketplaces, as well as your delivery partners and the order processing system. And finally, the SOP part, because it was a new way of operating. When we were not there digitally, we did not know how order processing would be done. We did not know how pick and pack would be done. While at a PowerPoint level and Excel sheet level, it is great. But as I told you, retail is a manpower intensive business. So once you ask your people down the line who are actually on minimum wages and slightly better than minimum wages, you understand the capability which these people have. So it's not easy to make a change, drastic change in terms of the way you have been operating. So putting the correct SOPs in place, which will not be very heavy, which will also ensure efficiency, and which will also ensure accuracy, because that's very important. Digitally, if somebody's ordered a product, and as consumers, and we would have experienced it, you've ordered A, and if B arrives, then possibly you are not going to have a look in at that website or place where you shop from again. So you need efficiency as well as you need accuracy, and for that you needed correct SOPs in place. So this was all about marketplaces. Additionally, if we were trading from from our own website, it meant that we needed a host of digital marketing initiatives. We needed to drive traffic to our website. We also needed a robust customer care, and finally, the omni-channel business, where you can shop from the website, you can return at the store, or you can shop from the store, you can return on the website, you can exchange your product at the store. So it's a complete omni-channel experience where you are present physically, you are also present digitally. So getting all this together, this entire piece together, took us about 40-45 days. But I'm very proud to say that as an organization, not many organizations have been able to scale up their digital presence from zero to where it was up and running marketplaces and website in about 40 days. So we are able to do that. Currently, as I speak, our performance matrices are such that we fulfill about 98% orders accurately on websites. We fulfill 99% orders on our own webs. We fulfill 98% of the orders that come on marketplaces. On our own website, we fulfill accurately about 99% orders. We have a NPS of about 80%. It is improving. There's a way to there's a lot of headroom for us in terms of improvement. But these are not bad numbers to operate. And our business has been such that about 20-25% of the business has started to come from this channel. So a very, very satisfying, successful story for us in the last couple of months, and we were able to scale it up from zero to from nothing to where it came to contributing about 25% of the business. So this was how complete online piece worked for us. Second was about partnerships. As I spoke about partnerships, the three different elements of partnerships that you have in retail business. And one is your property owners, which is your mall developers, as well as your retails. Wherever you have your retail store, they are owners or developers of that property. And we all have all the properties on rent. So we had to have a very good round of negotiations, hard round of negotiations. But the entire objective was that apply the mutuality principle, that we need to have a win-win negotiation. We also didn't want to really bargain so hard that it would rub the landlords and the property owners the wrong way, because it's a long-term relationship. You sign up leases for 9 years, 18 years, so it's a long relationship. So 1 6-month period should obviously not come in a way, or maybe a 12-month period should not come in a way of harming your long-term relationships. So it had to be a win-win negotiation. Essentially, the discussion centered around waiver and reduction of rent. So waiver was for the lockdown period, and reduction was for till the business comes back to about 90% of what it was in the previous year. So we were able to do that successfully in about 90% of places, where we negotiated very hard, as well as the landlords negotiated very hard. So both of us at least reached some level of middle ground, where we ensured that we had a full waiver. For the lockdown period, we didn't have to pay rent because revenues were zero, and so we took out a large part of our fixed cost from the equation. And secondly, for the period where we started to reopen and business started to resume from 20% where it started from to where it is today, we wanted a reduction in rents at a quarterly basis, which we are again able to do it at all the places. This was one part of negotiation. The next part of negotiation was the vendors, because we have trading partners, we have brands which supply to us, we have manufacturers which supply to us. So they had a lot of payments which are pending with us, because it operates on a 90-day cash cycle. So one thing was that whatever payments were due, we had to ensure that we make payments to them. But since there was no cash, we had to ensure, as I told you, the cash flow was be a big problem in this business for 12 months. We recognized that, and we started to make arrangements with them for staggered payments. That okay, we said that okay, whatever is past, you're going to clear it, but we're going to clear it slowly. But whatever is the current stock that you supply to us, we are going to pay you immediately. So therefore, your rotation starts to happen, our rotation starts to happen. So there, the cycle starts to move. Otherwise, it was a stuck cycle. So therefore, it started to work with 100% of the vendors. Also, what we did was we postponed certain orders. So we knew that lockdown happened in the month of March, April is where we closed on 100%. And the fashion cycle, the fashion business operates on two seasons. One is spring, summer, and autumn, winter. So both times of the year, February and August, is where the season changes. You have a change from summer to winter in August, and then you have a change from winter to summer in the month of February. So we were not able to expose our spring, summer, or summer merchandise to the consumers because it got all locked down. So what we did was that we postponed the orders which were supposed to come in August. So we said that, okay, we are not going to pick this merchandise. You postpone these orders and give it to us in the month of January and February, because till that time it's still cold. So people will still, be okay with the kind of merchandise in terms of commonality of seasons. So we postponed certain orders, which mean that we didn't have to pay immediately. The third part was most difficult, and it was possibly the toughest in terms of negotiations, in terms of thought process, because you're dealing with people, you're dealing with lives, you're dealing with the lives of their families. They are dependent completely on the organizations which they're running. But unfortunately, it's a challenging situation where you don't have any cash flows to give to pay salaries. So therefore, it meant was that we had to identify the key talent and ensure that they remain with us, because they are the ones who will obviously give the results in the future. So to ensure that they don't leave us. And second was, we started a process of putting people on furlough. Furlough meant that they would enjoy all the benefits in terms of the insurance, the medical insurance, etc., etc. But they will not get paid because they were on furlough. And we would tell them that, okay, listen, you're on furlough for about 60 days. We would see how gradually the situation improves. As soon as it improves and comes back to, let's say, 50-60% of the normal, we're going to consume back in our workforce. So that's what we have worked as an arrangement in furlough. And we went a little strict in terms of our performance management systems, wherein if we were separating about 5% of employees who were bottom performers, we separated about 12-13% of employees this time who were bottom performers of last year. So that's how we were able to manage in the employee situation. I would not say there was no collateral damage. There was collateral damage. There are a lot of people who got rubbed the wrong way, but there was no option. I would like to put it this way: you are caught in the middle of an ocean in a boat which has got 100 people, and the boat is overweight and is about to capsize. So you have two options: either you let all 100 people die, or you say that, okay, I'll take a call on 20 people, I'll save the boat, and maybe once my boat is safe, I'll come back and try and rescue those 20 people. So we took that approach of saying bye to few of our colleagues, so that we had to come back to normal as quickly as possible. And the moment we came back, we would consume them in our workforce, and that was the plan. But having said that, it was quite tough, because it drains people out to have these discussions with employees. You're dealing with lives, so it was a challenging time, dealing with, and probably the toughest in terms of negotiation and how our plans went, as what we had thought. The third part was cutting our losses. We had a very, very hard look at how our P&L statement at a store level was. As I told you, there are three levels of how the stores operate in the business. You have very good stores, which make a lot of money. You have average stores, which make about maybe 3-4% EBITDA for you, and then you have loss making stores. So this is the story about every team. You will have great performers, you'll have average performers, you'll have bad performers. So you'll have that bell curve in every situation, in every team. Your list of your set of retail stores. So it's a bell curve which is followed. So we had a very, very hard look at our P&L statement at a store level. And then we had to, we forecasted what we could achieve in terms of the sales for the next 6 months, 12 months, 18 months. And we knew that, okay, if the store is not coming up in terms of what the revenue expectation was, and finally how much loss we could have afforded. So we had to close the store. And that's where you see a lot of store closures happening in retail, physical brick and mortar retail. My estimate is globally about 30 to 40% retail stores are going to get shut. Chains are going to get shut, because simply the business will not be affordable, because they are bleeding stores. So you lose a lot of money. In good times, you still can afford it because some stores are making money for you. But in current times, even your good stores are not making money for you, and therefore it becomes unviable to have this kind of a situation running for a long time. So we had to close about 4 stores. It's a very painful decision again to close a store, because of opening a store, making up a store, getting it up to life, merchandising it, getting your consumers there, building consumer loyalty is just like bringing up a baby. And finally, at one point in time, when you just have to tell that you're no longer, that baby is required with you, it's a tough decision. It's an emotional decision. But yes, we had to become rock solid in what we thought and what we had planned for, and therefore we had to take this approach of closing down 4 stores. So that was the third part, which was cutting the loss wherever it mattered. The fourth was reopen. This was again quite challenging, because what we are dealing with, 3 aspects. We are dealing with safety, service, and sales. Safety for everybody, safety for the employees, safety for the customers. What it meant was that safety plus service will have a completely new dimension or a completely new norm of how we were, what we were, and what we were supposed to do. from a consumer expectation and what the employee could do for the customer. So as everybody knows now, it's a normal, but wearing a mask and a glove, only your healthcare workers know that it is quite tough to do it for about 8 to 10 hours, and if you have to don it continuously over your entire shift. Though obviously we were not wearing PPE kits, our staff was not wearing PPE kits, and it's a much more difficult job to do that. But in our case, this was not that people had thought, or people had imagined that they're going to do that. They're going to be standing in a store with a mask on for about 8 to 10 hours with gloves on it, and it sweats badly. If you have a glove for 8 to 10 hours, your hands become very dry, and it starts to sweat so much that it's very difficult to continuously wear it. But then there was no option. We had to do it. Uh, Hand sanitizing ritual routine. Now it has become a part and parcel of our life, and we are opening up somewhere in the month of June. This was still not a part and parcel of your life. So hand hygiene, sanitizing, it was still in its, I would say, in its infancy at that point in time. Then in a retail store, we you have a lot of places which are common touch. So you have in trial rooms, you have your doorknobs, you have your hangers, you have your garments. So what it meant was that we had to do sanitization literally every second to third day, sanitizing the entire store, because we did not know the consumer is coming in. While Arogya Setu was mandatory, but a lot of consumers became quite difficult to handle if they didn't have an app. And as you would know, it's only 15 crore 15 crore people in India have Arogya Setu. Rest of the people don't have Arogya Setu. So it was very difficult to identify people who could be asymptomatic, who could be symptomatic. While obviously taking temperatures was the norm, but still you could have an asymptomatic person coming in. Therefore, it meant that we had to do a sanitization drive every couple of days. So it was quite difficult, and it required a complete change of behavior and mindset, and also in terms of the money that you have to spend for all of this. Finally was social distancing. It's a retail business. Brick and mortar business is a touch business. You are touching and feeling the garment. You are in conversation with a fashion associate or a fashion consultant who's advising you about a certain style, advising you about a certain fabric, the feature, benefit, advantages of a certain product. Now suddenly this went out of the window. Most of the times you have to communicate through sign language, or you have to communicate from a distance. It becomes very difficult. If you're wearing a mask, consumer is wearing a mask, and you're 6 feet away, then still to tell them about the product. Then the challenge of every time a consumer would like a product, that product would have to be steamed in front of him or her, to get that confidence going that, listen, this is safe to try. And once they would walk in, we had to make certain changes in the way the door knobs of the trial rooms operated. So we had all foot operated knobs. We removed the of the touch of the hand, so it was all through the foot that we were operating. So steaming the garment, the consumer would go in, they would try, and once they would, whatever they would have bought, they would take with them. But whatever they would have tried and not bought, then again we'll have to quarantine that garment for about 48 hours, re-steam it after 48 hours before bringing it on the shelf. So this meant was very stringent follow up on the standard operating procedures, 100% SOP adherence. So while it looks very simple to do, I mean, since I put these pictures in place, it looks that okay, it's the normal, everybody can do it, but to have about 1,000 people to do it on a daily basis, day in and day out, many times in the day, through the day, every day, it is a huge challenge. How do you develop your monitoring systems? You're not physically able to travel and see and check. Therefore, you employ a lot of technology. You have your CCTV cameras, and you keep looking at them through your phones or through your laptops, etc., so that there's constant surveillance, and there is as much as minimum breach as possible of the SOP. It's a very tough part of retail, of how we ensure safety and service. Then was sales. As I told you, fashion is consumed in certain occasions, and all the occasions of consuming fashion were thrown out of the window suddenly. So we had this huge demand of athleisure, because everybody was operating out of home. There's a fitness fad in India. Everybody wants to get fit, right, for the right reasons. So which means there was a huge demand of athleisure, which your track pants, your joggers, your sweatshirts, etc., which started to move like crazy, and we were not prepared for that. What it meant was realigning our inventory to ensure that we had good amount of athleisure products available with us. The second thing that we tried to do was WhatsApp video call was a big savior, because consumers were not confident to walk into the stores. So what the staff used to do was they would take them through a virtual walk of the store, or of the section of the brand, of certain new styles which are coming in. So what if the consumer would select? We would ask them their size. We would pack it. We'll steam it and pack it, and we are going to deliver it contactless at the doorstep and ask for a digital mode of payment. So WhatsApp video call really started to turn the business for it, started to turn the tide for us. I would say one of the main reasons why we were able to recover was WhatsApp video call. A lot of people tried different things. There are a lot of companies which tried store on wheels. So you had this trucks of lifestyle, Levi's, few other brands which would go into a certain condominium complex, or they would go in societies, etc., where they would park themselves, and consumers could come in, and it was like a store at on wheels and at your door. So this was what a lot of people tried. We didn't do store on wheels, we did home shopping. So what we did was that we would call up a consumer. If they're looking for something, we would say that okay, we will ask for them size, and then we would pack about 100 garments of what we thought that would be relevant for them. We would steam all of those 100 garments with gloves, mask, your head covers, and your foot covers. We would go into the consumer's home. We would sanitize, and then we would sell to them at their homes. So this was one initiative which started to give results for us. Every day we were able to at least get about one home shopping customer with us. And anybody who invites you at your home, they're actually big buyers. They don't buy a couple of garments. They also understand it's difficult for anybody to come at their home to sell. And once somebody is coming, so it ended up being what we call in retail is a big bill, about maybe 70,000, about a lakh of rupee, etc., which was like 20 times of what any consumer buys in a physical retail shop. So this was again it was a very, very successful initiative. Then we worked around a very innovative loyalty program. We had a loyalty program which was running with us, which was a point-based system. A point-based system in India is very, very abused. On Saturday morning, your phone gets flooded with SMSs of different brands, etc. So we thought that we are not going to do this. We are going to get away from this. We will do a pay for performance program, wherein it will be a subscription based program. You pay something to us, and you get immediate benefits, immediate tangible benefits, great product, or a gift from us. Along with that, you get a host of other benefits which are very tangible in nature, and which you will get immediately on your purchase. So we had a subscription program which is running very, very successful. Again, you turned the complete tide for us. Consumer pays 9,000 rupees to us. We hand them over a Tommy Hilfiger mid-size hardtop luggage to them. Along with that, what they are assured of is a 10% discount over and above everything running in the store through the year, 365 days. Plus, they have got a 5,000 rupee birthday shopping voucher. And we don't have points for anybody else. So anybody who enrolls in this program enables all these benefits. Anybody who doesn't enroll in this program is assured of common benefits. So the learning was very simple from Indigo. So Indigo doesn't have a frequent flyer program. What they have is basic great service for everybody else. Other than that, if you want something extra, whether if you need space with extra leg room, then you'll have to pay for it. If you want to consume something as food in the flight, you'll have to pay for it. If you want your baggage to come early when you are disembarking, you'll have to pay for it. So the learning was from Indigo, and we were able to. Right now, we are doing about 15% of our businesses coming through the subscription program. So again, a great initiative which helped us in our fight to recover. We also had these two initiatives of refer a friend. We had a lot of customers who would walk into a store, who would shop with us, who would be very happy with the kind of safe environment that we were creating. So we asked them politely that, why don't you become our ambassadors? So we would send them a link on their phone. The only thing which they had to do was just forward that link to everybody in their network. And if five of their referees would come and shop at a store, they would get a guaranteed gift from us. It started to work for us slowly and slowly. It is like now we have about 40,000 people who have referred. So out of the 40,000 people, we have about 5% of people of the customers have come back to us as new customers. So those 2,000 people have again become our new referees. So it's a great cycle to be operating in, because your customers become your ambassadors. And finally, we have a chatbot solution where a bot now is getting trained to service a customer. So not necessarily you need to go into an app or into a website. We have a number. A customer can WhatsApp on that number. You will have the entire shopping experience with a bot. Bot is trained enough through AI. What in terms of consumer would like, what are the preferences. Let's say if I'm sitting at the back in a taxi and going somewhere and I want to shop for a shirt, let's say of Tommy Hilfiger, I'll say that, okay, hi to this number. I want to purchase a Tommy Hilfiger shirt. There'll be few questions like stripe, solid, colored, what, etc., etc. And basis what I answer, I'll get a list of, let's say, I'll get a option list of about 7 to 8 options. I can choose one. I can make the payment on the link there. I can put in my address, and my transaction is done. So it obviously it is a great experience, because it doesn't need doesn't I don't have to go onto a website or an app to do an online shopping. It can be simply through an bot. So that's work in progress. We're going to go live with this in the next 15 days. So these are the host of initiatives which we took, and I'm very, very happy to say that we have recovered completely. Not many in retail have been able to do it. These are kind of initiatives, path-breaking initiatives which we have done in retail, which probably very few people would have done completely. Some would have done 50%, some would have done 70%. So which has helped us to get to about 110%. Actually, if I compare, if I add my online business to my offline business, was not there previously last year. So I'm growing on a completely offline basis. We are at about 90% of last year, which is fantastic situation to be in the environment that we are operating. Finally, on my last chart on what are the trends which I foresee in the industry, how it's going to shape up. Grocery business, online grocery is going to go 10x in the next 3 to 4 years, because all of us have somehow got used to this of our soap, shampoo, flour, milk, bread, eggs landing at our doorstep in the morning, or through once we order through an app. So this is likely to grow huge. Online fashion shopping, right now it was 5% pre-COVID. Right now it's about 30-35%, likely to settle at about 25%. And finally, you have the OTT consumption, about 29 million users, exponentially growing. Obviously, what has helped is that there are no movies in the theaters. So, but then consumers have got used to this, and they're getting addicted to OTT platforms, wherein you have the ease, convenience of watching it whenever you feel like, wherever you feel like. There is no restriction, and the hassle of going somewhere, parking your car, going into a mall, spending 3 hours. I know it's an experience. Many people will say it's an experience. But right now, the consumer behavior is changing in a manner wherein people are looking for ease and access, and of there's no foundation of time where they'll have to spend of 3 to 4 hours confined to a certain place, which they may deem to be safe or unsafe. You don't know who's sitting next to you. There may be a lot of asymptomatic people, etc. So again, it's going to be quite challenging for theaters and movies to be back to normal. So these are the three big trends which are going to physically alter how the transition of the retail business globally. If you see, the transition has been from mom and pop stores to organized trade or modern trade to e-commerce. In India, what's happening is there's a bypass. There's a flyover happening from mom and pop stores directly to e-commerce. Flipkart and Myntra had their Flipkart and Amazon had their Great Indian Shopping Festival about 15-20 days back, or a month back, just prior to Diwali. About 40% of their orders have come from tier 2 cities, or tier 1, tier 2 cities, which doesn't have organized trade. Organized trade's next destination was these tier 1, tier 2 cities, which seems to have bypassed. So therefore, 700 malls in India, which I spoke about at the time at the start of my presentation, only 100-150 are successful. Now with this challenge of with e-commerce coming in, and possibly so many technological upgradations coming in, that the consumer physically doesn't need to go to a physical store. What is likely to happen is that organized trade or modern trade development in India is going to get bypassed. So you will have mom and pop stores, and they'll be connected to the consumer through e-commerce, whether it could be hyperlocal or they will have their own websites. You could have a lot of boutique online websites, just like you have boutique supermarkets. There will be boutique online sites which are going to, which will be the digital version of a physical store. So these are the trends which I foresee happening in the next 4 to 5 years in retail. Big changes. It means a complete shift in the way this industry has progressed and was developing. Some people may say India is only 7% of organized trade. US has about 85% of organized trade. A lot of headroom to grow, but in India nothing happens in a linear scale. So it is an exponential increase in terms of consumers jumping from mom and pop to e-commerce because of smartphones and the 4G, 5G technology coming in. So these are trends which are emerging and likely to solidify in the future. So that was about what I think, what we have done in our business and what I foresee the trends. I'm open to questions now. It was great interacting with you. Look forward to the questions.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kumar, for such detailed and valuable insights. We have some questions. Um, do you plan to open or venture into online grocery or other categories in online? Um, this is the first question that we have.
So we would want to focus where we are, where our core competence is, where our expertise is. Online grocery is also not an easy business to operate. It may seem easy, but uh, it's a high logistics cost model. A consumer would want a 5 rupees Parle-G to be delivered to his door. That is the consumer expectation. Now, how many people can fulfill the consumer expectation profitably? You look at the deal which probably Big Basket is going into with Tata. The Tata is buying out Big Basket at whatever 1.7, 1.8 billion dollars. But 920 crore was the cash burn of Big Basket last year. So it's a cash burning business simply because of the logistics cost. Unless you get a very strong hyper local environment in place wherein you can service the customer from the nearest store. Let's say I'm a website where consumer comes to me and is ordering for, let's say, a pack of Parle-G, but that Parle-G I know is available at a 200-meter distance from that wherever that consumer is, at a retail store, a Mohan store, and I tell Mohan store to go and deliver it to him. That is possible, but what happens is that the margins are not sufficient to have one more leg in the chain. So in an FMCG business or any grocery business, you have about margin plays about 15 to 20%, which is the retail margin. Now, if you have one more level, right, the way the common structure is you have company, you have a CNF agent, you have a distributor, you have a retailer, and you have a consumer. Now here you are adding one more leg with the same margin structure. So again, the margins are not going to be sufficient enough to drive this. Therefore, it is not an easy model to operate. It's a cash burning model. So let's see how many people will be able to sustain it and sustain it profitably. We do not have any plans of venturing into this.
So the next question is, how did you manage the excess spring summer 20 or autumn winter 19 inventory during COVID, given the fast fashion nature of the business? Were you able to sell products from one season to another?
So autumn winter 19 was not a problem because we knew that once autumn winter 20 is going to come, you can put that at a discount and sell. Spring summer 20 merchandise, as I told you, we had not exposed it to the consumer and went under a lockdown. What we did was we postponed the autumn orders. Generally, what happens in autumn winter is we place orders for about 55% of the merchandise, which is autumn, and 45% is pure winter. So that 55% of the orders of autumn were postponed. We did not pick up the orders in the month of August. We continued with the inventory of spring summer in month of August and September, and the August orders we postponed to December and January. So the next year spring summer orders actually are autumn orders of -1 season.
Thank you. What is the current focus of Iconic India, offline or online?
So it's omni-channel. So it's neither offline, neither online. We understand that until unless you have a physical and digital presence both in the future, no business is going to be successful. And you need to have a credible presence at both parts. You just can't be having a fledgling online operation and your focus can be offline. So that's now how it is going to operate. We see our business model shifting to a 55-45. 55 is going to be a physical model, and 45 is going to be a digital model.
Thank you. How do you deliver to the last mile in remote locations for Iconic Group?
Now you have all your delivery aggregators, whosoever is delivering from Amazon, and Amazon is delivering at 96% of pin codes in India. Same delivery aggregators, same services that you use, whether it is a delivery aggregator called ShipRocket, or you use FedEx, or you use Delivery. So most of these people are common. So it's a very large and upcoming business right now, the delivery business. So you use the same model and the same infrastructure of these people, and the more and more people get into their onto their platform, their cost of servicing comes down. So therefore, it's a profitable model for everybody.
Right. Now that most companies are building their own online shopping channels, how will this impact Iconic?
So how our business model is such that we have about 60% of the business that we were doing through trading brands, and about 40% of the business we were doing our own brands. What we plan to do in the next couple of seasons is two things. One is we are going to reduce our store sizes. What it means, what will happen is that if our store size is reduced, we will exit our bottom performing trading brands. It'll ensure that our 40% contribution of our own brands increases. So it'll come to 50-50 with this snipping of these tail brands that we were trading. Secondly, we are going in for at least 4 to 5 marquee international brands which are going to be exclusively available with us. So those are coming to us in the next couple of seasons. Therefore, our plan is to move from 60-40 to 40-60. So we'll have 60% of the label which is going to be completely exclusive with us, and 40% we are still going to trade. But even that 40% is not going to be mass available. So you don't have a Tommy Hilfiger, Calvin Klein, Puma, etc., which are mass available. These are not like Louis Philippe, Van Heusen, Peter England of the world. So they are still exclusive, and our constant endeavor and effort is that how we can keep improving our own share, our own brands. Either we manufacture in India or we have the exclusive rights to distribute and sell, which are global brands. How do we keep increasing it to about 75% in the next couple of years? Once the ideal state of about 75-25 is reached, we will be in a comfortable position at that point in time.
Thank you. So just last couple of questions now. What is more important in retail, revenue or profitability?
See, revenue is cash. You need cash to run the business because it's a cash consuming business. As long as some daddy is funding this business, you don't require profitability. But the moment dad refuses to give any more money, you need profitability to become self-sustainable. So in the short term, you definitely need revenue. In the medium to long term, you need profitability to survive. And that is the biggest challenge in business. The people who have gone down, revenue was not a problem. It was the profitability over a long period of time which was the problem. You look at Future Group, you look at all international chains, Debenham, Sears, etc., etc. Whosoever has gone down, Macy's, etc., whosoever has gone down has gone down because their long-term profitability was an issue.
Right. How does roping in local businesses in the value chain work? Reliance Retail is talking about it for quite some time now.
See, as I told you, for example, let's say you talk about a general store in some locality, in some residential neighborhood, and you pick up a brand. Let's say you pick up a brand of Colgate. Take any Colgate toothpaste kind of a brand. Margins on Colgate, the retail margins are such, the MRP is in a way structured in a way that you have about 14%, 13 to 14% retailer margin, you have about 6 to 7% distributor margin. This is the margin structure. It's about 20 to 25% is the margin structure play of distribution, cost of distribution, what the companies call. Now, what happens is that if you have an online play, let's say Reliance JioMart is trying to integrate a local player, there's one more leg which is getting introduced. Either JioMart tries to service the retailers directly and eliminates the distributor, which is going to be very, very tough because companies are going to sell to distributors, distributors are going to sell to retailers. JioMart is just going to have that inventory at one place digitally and will be able to service. JioMart is going to charge a service fee for whatever they are ensuring for the retailer. Now their closure fee or service fee or whatever you can call them is going to be additional margin which somebody has to provide for in the value chain, which at a total margin structure of 20-22%, it has to go from somebody's pocket. Obviously, it's not going to go from distributor's pocket, it will go from retailer's pocket. Now, retailer itself he's himself earning about 13 to 14%. With discounts thrown in, he's earning about 6 to 7%. Now, if somebody charges 4 to 5% as referral fee or whatever, the platform fee, there's nothing which the retailer is earning. So therefore, it is very difficult with the current margin structure to have that incorporated. This can probably work more for your private label brands. Let's say if the margin suddenly, in a private label brand moves to 30-35%, then it's still doable. But for all these large brands, which actually corner a large pie of the FMCG business, it is very difficult for a sustainable point of view in the long run.
Thank you. So we are done with the questions. Before we end, I would like Nikhil to deliver the vote of thanks, please.
Hey, thanks, Siddharth. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of ISB, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to Mr. Kumar for an interactive session. Thank you so much, sir, for your taking time out and interacting with class of 21. I'm certain that this session must have given a greater added value and has helped the audience understand about the broad aspects of retail sector, about the omni-channel aspects of the retail and the way forward for Iconic. We look forward to engage with you for many more engagements ahead. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Have a great afternoon ahead.
Yes, Siddharth, if you can send me the recorded video of this and also the still pictures, it'll be very good.
Sure, sir. The recorded videos, I'll be able to share the link with you on email. The pictures, probably Siddharth can send it across.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Right,
Good luck, everyone. Bye-bye. Stay safe.